First of all, thanks for coming in to both parties. You might just run me through one part of it that I'm trying to get to grips with, Mr. Maloney. Is it, say, the plastic that comes into the country from the different suppliers, who do they pay the levy to?
They pay the levy to the scheme.
Okay, and that's for all the tonnages. Is it per tonne or per roll or what?
Per tonne. They pay per tonne.
Much is it a tonne?
It's €240 per tonne.
It was less than that, wasn't it?
It was, that's right, yeah.
What's it gone up?
It's gone up by €80 per tonne this year.
So it's gone up €80 a tonne, so that'll be €2 a roll on every roll.
That's right.
That'd be fair to say?
Yes.
For every farmer. Right. How many tonne did you get paid for in 21-22 for last year's, say, for last year's baling and silage?
Well, last year the market was very poor. It was down by 20% because of the price of fertiliser and because of drought, so there was just a little over 20,000 tonnes put on the market. 20,000
tonne came in?
Yes.
From the
manufacturers and importers, yeah.
And what was the total income from that?
Well, last year it was €160 per tonne. So
160?
Yeah, last year was 160, but it's gone up to 240.
How much is that roughly?
I think it was around 3.5, 3.6 million, something in that
3.2 was 3.3, yeah. And what was, say, the bring centres last year, how many tonnes was collected?
36,500 tonnes.
36.5. I presume it is my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that if something is a kilo here, it's 2 kilos when you get it back. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
What was your income out of that?
Well, the overall income last year was in the region of...
No, I'm talking about for the bringing centres.
I think we brought in around 1.82 million, something in that region. Our overall income last year between levy and collection charges have been around 5.5 million.
Right. And what's your overall costs with all the contractors, without your own office costs, to collect that, to bring the centres and to pay, I presume, the bailiff fee, do they?
Well, the overall cost to the scheme last year was around 6.2 million, and all but around 500,000 of that was operational costs.
So you were making a loss of 0.7 million?
Around 600,000 last year, yeah.
Of a loss?
Yes.
And at the moment, so that's 0.7 of a million of a loss. Would that be fair to say?
I think it was 600,000.
600, right? Yeah. We're not going to fall out over 100 grand. Right. At the moment, what's in the account? What's in your account at the moment from, I presume when do you get paid for the imports? I presume less back end for this year, and now you get the subsidy, do you?
Well, most of the members would start paying the contribution from around May, June.
May, June, so you'd have nothing got in for this year yet?
Very little.
Okay. And what have you on balance at the moment in your accounts, say, cash in hand, let's call it?
I don't have it to hand, but I would say something in the region of 1.5, 2 million there is there in resources, something in that region. Right.
So, and that's, you have accounted for the 700 loss in that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And what tonnage is in your 4 different sites at the moment? What tonnage is there from your estimates?
I would say 15,000 tonnes would be typically what we carry at this time of the year.
Would that be accurate?
I believe so, yes.
So what did you dispose of to recycling in the last year?
Last calendar year, I think it was...
Say from forget about calendar years, I'm talking about Christmas to Christmas. What, in 22, what did you get rid of into recycling centres?
It was in the region of 32,000 tonnes.
31 or 32,000 tonnes?
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about there'd be a 4,000 carryover from that, or maybe more, would it? And you're talking about 15,000 tonnes in the centres at the moment, in your estimates?
Approximately.
Right. And what's the cost of getting that over the line? To get that this minute?
Well, it'll go over the course of the year, but...
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if first of all, we are ready for this year's to be coming in shortly, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
What would the cost be to get rid of 15,000?
Probably in the region, I would say, maybe a million or something like that.
How much is it costing you?
Approximately $1 million, I would say.
No, but how much is it costing does this have to be baled? Because most of this plastic I'm seeing at your bases at the moment from photos that has been seen to all of us, none of it is baled. It is all loose plastic in a lot of places. Is that correct?
Well, anything that goes for export is baled, and anything that goes to Irish.
Yeah, but I'm asking you a question. And the 15,000 tonne that we've seen photos of that have been sent in to us, it looks to be all loose plastic. Is that correct?
Initially, it's stored loose, but as it goes to recycling facilities abroad, it's all baled.
Right. And if it goes to in your estimation, be it to balance both, what's your percentage at the moment going out of the country in the last year?
Probably 55% or thereabouts.
So 55% is to be that baled, and to bale it and to transport it, what's the cost to get it in somewhere?
Well, I'm not going to go into that level of breakdown because that's commercially.
It's very important.
It is also commercially sensitive.
Well, I don't care what. No, hold on a second. This is farmers that's paying for a service, so farmers deserve to know what you said you're not for profit.
Yes.
So if you're not for profit, the farmer deserves to know the price.
I'm not going to break it down to that degree because we have contracts with contractors and the information.
Yeah, I know that you have contract, but I'm asking per tonne to bale something and
as I say, that's commercially.
To bring it out of the country, or if you're bringing it loose to the place here.
That's commercially sensitive.
Sure, how can we bring up a figure?
Chair, sorry, with the privileged note that I wrote, it gives them gives the company a level of security regarding commercially sensitive information.
Like I cannot do up the figures then in the chair, with due respect, in relation to if there's, right, I'll give it to you this way. I know that it costs probably €100 a tonne to bring it to certain places in this country, talking generally, and baling it on top of that. Would I be correct in saying that if you were to get rid of all the stuff at the moment that's around the country, that it would cost you more than what's in your kitty, going by the figures that I have gone around and talked to people of the cost to get it out of the country, to get it to England, or because it's tougher to get plastics out now? Would that be fair to say, with the different colour coded that's on it? Say there was green plastics one time, or I think it's oranges or amber they call it now, that I'd have talked to contractors that bring it out. Would it not be fair to say that with the 15,000 tonne that's hanging around and what you'd have in the kitty, that it would be nearly impossible to get rid of the plastic?
No, that would be completely incorrect. We are confident that we're adequately funded this year, not only to recycle that 15,000 tonnes, but maybe another 25,000 tonnes in addition to that. And
am I correct last year, and the people that had the contracts with you, that they got a letter from you to say that they would have to give that to be 6 months from, or 4 months, whatever, from the time that they collect at the bring centres, that you wouldn't be paying them for those contracts? Is that correct? Did you write a letter to your?
Absolutely not, no.
So how quick do you pay the contractors at the bring centres?
We pay them by the terms of their contracts.
Well, yeah, I'm asking, did a letter go out last year? No?
No, it did not, no.
Okay, so no letter went out that to be paid in September or October or whatever, no?
No.
Okay, so you don't agree with me that the 15,000 tonnes that's hanging around at the moment, that it wouldn't cost what's in the kitty? You don't agree?
Absolutely not. We intend to recycle perhaps 40,000 tonnes of material this year. So we feel we're adequately funded to do that. We have an increase to the levy, which is going to bring in a lot of additional.
So if you recycle 40,000 tonnes, and last year you took in 20,000 tonnes, and you have 15 left at the moment, you're talking about 25,000 tonnes of this year, as well as the 15 going. And this is for the department, does the department ever worry that there's plastic hanging around from say 15,000 tonnes, that in actual fact, in my opinion, if you're to try and keep on top of it, should be gone? Where does the department hold responsibility there?
Well, I think you have to take account of the use that the plastic is put to and the seasonal nature of the
There's no
activities
seasonal nature in
involved. So
recycling.
it's not that it's hanging around. It is being stored until it is collected, and then it is stored again until it is baled.
Sorry,
so
there's
it's been
been
managed.
there's no seasonal. There's no seasonal thing in recycling plastic. You can recycle plastic all year round.
Oh, absolutely. It's more the nature of the farmers' use of it and the collection of it on the farms, and the bring centres are organised largely in the late spring and summer.
Just be clear on this in case you don't, there's a time of year, in fairness to the bring centres, that they're open. So the plastic is there from then on. So the farmers nothing got to do with this. I'm asking, are you concerned that of last year's plastic and this year's about to come around the corner, that there's 15,000 tonnes hanging around the country? In my opinion, there's more, because there's some private operators plastic as well, that is hanging around the country, and you don't seem to, like, it's not down to seasons or anything, it's down because recycling goes on all year round. If it's going to England, it goes to England all year round. If it goes to the places here in Ireland, it goes to Ireland. So what's your view on that?
It has to be managed within the terms of the permits for those who are holding the plastics. So that is the bottom line. And if anything untoward is happening, then the enforcement authorities are there to monitor and take action.
And does your department go out to the people that are successful with their licences to check what tonnage they have?
The local authorities monitor that.
No, but does the Department of Climate Action?
No, but the Department of Climate Action does make a contribution towards the funding of the local government enforcement sector. Right.
In relation to, say, plastic, there's €2 extra now. It was 160, you were saying, which was 44s, roughly €4 a tonne, wouldn't that be, or €4 a roll, roughly. So that's going to go to €6 a roll. That's going to be a raise of 50% for the farmer again. Is that right?
That's right.
And in the line of, say, when oil goes up, and generally down through the years when oil went up in price, recycling stuff got more valuable for recycling. What's the story on it at the moment? Say, one time ago when oil was dear, the plastic, you could actually get paid to take plastic.
Yeah.
Where when oil was dear in the last year, what's the story with it?
Unfortunately, that linkage is broken now, Deputy, and it's mainly because of the decision by the Chinese 5 or 6 years ago to stop importing plastic waste. They used to import 7 million tonnes a year, and once they stopped importing, then we saw an oversupply situation in Europe and elsewhere. So unfortunately, the plastic at the moment has no positive value. We hope that in years to come we will see a return of positive value. If that happens, our costs will reduce dramatically, and we will pass savings back to both the farmers and our producer members.
And at the bring centres, say it was, I have the price, it was it like €50 a tonne or something, was it?
Last year it was €70 per tonne. It's €70 again per tonne this year at the Brink Centre. That's the price that will be charged to farmers.
So €70 a tonne for this year again?
Exactly, yeah.
Right. To the department, how come, and explain this to me because I can't get my head around this, if I have a school bus every 5 years, I have to tender to Bus Éireann or every 3 years or whatever, it's every 5 years, I think, that I have to tender under a procurement process and tick all the boxes that I washed it and I done all this crack with it, right? How come that a department gives out a contract, going by what I'm listening to you, under a regulation that seems to be a fancy regulation that seems to give you the opportunity to keep going and going and going and going at this, that there isn't like a procurement for invited tenders for it? And can you tell me, how come, say, I'd be awfully happy if I cut 7 hoppers for someone that they pay me for 10 when I'm cutting turf for people. How come that the department doesn't deal direct with the importers, like like customs deal with most things in this country. If you're bringing in a car, the VRT and everything has to be paid to customs, and if someone has owed money back out, then it's paid out to them. How come that the department doesn't look after that? Because it's sort of a piecemeal, whatever deal is done with the importers and the people that's looking after, the people that has the contract, will say. It seems to be sort of a system that way, where generally what happens is the department will get in X amount for all the thing, and then they pay out the money to the people that's doing the job. Like, that's nearly the rule in everything. This seems to be completely different and set up. And why does the department not bring in a system for reward, that it would be that if I collect 80%, I'll get 80% of the tonnages that was sold in a country or came into a country, or 90% to try and rev it up a bit? And could you all tell me, both sides, that I had to look at the stats on the single farm payment, and there's 130,000 farmers that's drawn single farm payment. And Mr. Maloney stated earlier that there's 75,000 customers that they'd have the herd numbers, or the numbers, 50,000 with 75, I think was the words you said. Where is the other 55,000 going, or what's happening, or do they exist at all, or what's the story?
Okay, well, look, will I deal with the first question? Yeah. Okay. Well, the process is very different to the school bus provision, because we're not. It's not providing a service to consumers like the school bus service. So what this is about is really putting the responsibility on the producer of the plastic. So if we regard the plastic as something that has a useful life, but at the end of it, it becomes a waste and has the potential to become a nuisance to society, then what we want to do is to ensure that the people who put that product on the market take responsibility for it at the end of its useful life. So this is producer pays, it's polluter pays, it's a very well established principle across EU the legislation, and it is there for other product streams, and it's increasingly being used as a way of ensuring that producers take responsibility for what they produce when it becomes a waste. So we have the waste electrical scheme that I spoke about, so that when you're buying a toaster and you have an old one, that you can bring it back and then be confident that it's been recycled properly. We have a tyre scheme. We have a number of schemes there that are based on that precise principle. There are more coming under the Single-Use Plastics Directive. There are a number of more producer responsibility schemes. So that's the basis for the existence of the Farm Plastic Scheme, to ensure responsible treatment of the material at its end of life. There are profits being made from selling the material. It's a useful substance for farmers to use in their businesses, but at the end of life, it has no value, and it has to be looked after. So there is a legal responsibility on those producers. So producers are legally obliged then to come up with a system whereby that material is safely and reliably collected and recycled. And this system has shown a stability and a success over the years in providing precisely that service to farmers and on behalf of producers. So that's why it's different, and I can understand that it might be difficult to get to understand precisely then where that leaves contractors who are contracted to the scheme, but they are providing a service to a scheme. They're not providing a service to the government.
Yeah, just to respond there to the Deputy, we feel that the vast majority of livestock farmers that are farming in any sort of a large-scale way are availing of our services, and the figures support that. We had an 88% recycling level last year. There are obviously some farmers who are not recycling, but also there are farmers who might have a herd number, but they're not necessarily wintering cattle, or they're producing minimal amounts of waste and they're dealing with it in some other way.
Yeah, it's just the figure I'm looking at on single farm payment, as you may appreciate. that there's 130,000, and if they weren't farming cattle, they still have to, the grass is going to grow, so they're going to be eating it some way. And the 55,000, if they make bales or silage, they have to use plastic. And I just can't fathom how there's a gap of 55,000 from the 75 that you've on your records in relation to that. And just one other thing, you said 20,000 came in last year and that was a bad old year for fertiliser. But the only thing, I understood that we nearly fed the same amount of cattle last winter as we did any other winter. So I'm just wondering how we fed the same amount of cattle with maybe 10 or 15,000 tonne less, you know.
Well, I think there's a lot of carryover material in farmers' yards, especially if the previous winters were mild, and really the size of the market in a given year is very much influenced by the weather in the summertime, not so much the weather in the winter time.
And how is it looking this year in the line of the import? Say, is there much imported so far, or do you get any inkling yet to me?
Well, fertiliser costs are reduced, as you'll be aware, so hopefully more fertiliser is going to be used, which would suggest more farm plastics will be purchased. We have no idea, obviously, what the weather is going to be like, and the weather is the biggest determinant factor. And last year we had 6-8 weeks of drought, and it just killed second cut silage. So that caused the market to reduce significantly.
Okay, thanks, Sharon.
Okay.